The glow of television screens across America once carried promises of hope and salvation, but behind Daystar television network's polished broadcasts lies a reality far removed from biblical humility. Imagine this: a widow in Ohio mails her last $20 to Daystar during a breakthrough night telethon, praying for relief from crushing medical debt. Unbeknownst to her, that bill might be subsidizing Joni Lamb's pool service at her Highland Park mansion or the fuel for her private jet en route to a Caribbean retreat. This grotesque disconnect forms the core of Daystar's Unraveling, a ministry empire built on sacrificial giving now crumbling under the weight of its leader's $40 million opulence and a litany of alleged financial and ethical abuses. The receipts don't lie: a nearly $100,000 honeymoon in Mexico charged to ministry accounts, a sprawling real estate portfolio rivaling corporate CEOs, and a mass exodus of top-tier evangelists fleeing the toxic fallout. This isn't just scandal. It's the autopsy of a faith-based institution cannibalizing its own mission. Understanding Daystar's rise is crucial to grasping its fall. Founded in 1997 by Joni and Marcus Lamb, Daystar tapped into a potent vein of American evangelical fervor. Their pitch was compelling: use the power of television to reach souls globally, transcending church walls and geographical barriers. Viewers, often ordinary people facing financial hardship or personal crises, responded with extraordinary generosity. They believed their donations, sometimes literal widow's mites, were fueling a divine mission, translating the gospel into every language, planting churches in unreached territories, offering solace through prayer lines. Daystar's growth was meteoric, penetrating 110 million U.S. households and broadcasting in 200 countries. This success wasn't accidental. Joni Lamb possessed a formidable ability to connect with the camera, her appeals blending spiritual urgency with relatable vulnerability. She spoke the language of faith communities, fostering deep loyalty and opening wallets. The financial engine roared, propelling Daystar into the stratosphere of Christian media and, simultaneously, transforming the Lamb's personal wealth from modest beginnings into an estimated $40 million fortune. Yet, this origin story now feels like a tragic irony. The very generosity that built the network became the fuel for its leader's extravagant lifestyle, creating a chasm between the ministry's stated purpose and its president's lived reality that would eventually prove unbridgeable. The tangible manifestations of Lamb's wealth stand in stark, painful contrast to the circumstances of many donors. While viewers might clip coupons, delay car repairs, or skip medications to afford their faith seeds, Lamb navigates a world of unparalleled privilege. Her primary residence isn't just a house, it's a compound in Dallas' exclusive Highland Park neighborhood, an enclave synonymous with old money and power. But one mansion wasn't enough. Her portfolio expanded to include multiple other Texas properties, an estate in Georgia's serene countryside, and a coveted beachfront condo in Florida, a collective value soaring well into the millions. This isn't mere home ownership, it's strategic asset accumulation. Beyond the residential splendor, Lamb invested shrewdly in high-value commercial real estate, generating significant passive income streams that further insulated her wealth from the network's operational fluctuations. Private jets replaced commercial flights, five-star global vacations became routine, and a lifestyle emerged that bore no resemblance to the humble servant leadership preached on Daystar's airwaves. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. Sermons advocating modesty and sacrificial living emanating from studios funded by viewers whose own sacrifices enable Lamb's private aviation and waterfront retreats. This visible opulence wasn't just insensitive, it was a fundamental betrayal of the covenant of trust implicit in every donation envelope received. The honeymoon scandal ripped open the carefully maintained facade. In June 2023, shortly after marrying Christian counselor Doug Weiss, Lamb embarked on a lavish getaway to Los Cabos, Mexico. Stays at elite resorts, indulgent amenities, and premium experiences defined the trip, with the total cost ballooning close to $100,000. The shockwave came not from the vacation itself, but from the payment trail. Investigative scrutiny revealed two substantial charges linked to Daystar ministry credit cards: $36,780 recorded in October 2022, a full 8 months before the wedding, and another $64,168 in May 2023, just weeks prior to the ceremony. These dates alone raised immediate red flags. Why were significant charges appearing on ministry cards so long before and after the actual honeymoon? Were these expenses genuinely tied to ministry activities, or were they improperly allocated to camouflage personal spending? Lamb's initial defense was swift and emphatic: rewards points covered the entire cost. However, her son, Jonathan Lamb, then serving as Daystar's vice president, conducted due diligence. His findings were explosive. The ministry's rewards accounts held nowhere near the points required to offset such a massive expense. His challenge to the charges during a board meeting wasn't just a financial query. It was an act of conscience, questioning the very ethics of using donor funds for executive luxury. The board's response, spearheaded by member Tom Callender, was a masterclass in questionable governance. Callender allegedly intervened, retroactively declaring the honeymoon expenses a personal gift to Joni Lamb, effectively absolving her of the obligation to repay the ministry. Crucially, this decision reportedly bypassed formal board approval processes, raising serious concerns about conflicts of interest and the lack of robust financial oversight. Callender, gifting funds he didn't personally possess, funds donated by the faithful, to the network's president, who also wielded significant influence over the board itself, created an appearance of self-dealing that severely damaged Daystar's credibility. Jonathan Lamb's principled stand came at a high personal cost. His refusal to acquiesce to this financial maneuver was a key factor leading to his termination, transforming him from an insider to a whistleblower exiled for demanding accountability. Lamb's subsequent public denial in December 2024 rang hollow against the mounting evidence. In a lengthy video statement, she declared, "Absolutely not. Not one penny of Daystar's money was used for our honeymoon. We paid for our honeymoon, okay?" She dismissed the allegations as malicious lies. However, investigative journalists, most notably at the Roy's Report, meticulously dissected her claims. They presented documented evidence, credit card statements, expense reports, timelines that directly contradicted her narrative. The paper trail painted a picture inconsistent with personal payment and pointed squarely towards ministry funds being utilized. The honeymoon controversy, however, proved to be merely the tip of a much larger, more troubling iceberg. It exposed Daystar's systemic lack of financial transparency, a vulnerability inherent in its organizational structure. By registering as a church, Daystar exploits a significant legal loophole: exemption from filing IRS Form 990. This form is the bedrock of nonprofit transparency, requiring detailed public disclosure of executive compensation, including housing allowances and benefits, revenue sources, major expenditures, like property purchases or travel, and independent audit results. Daystar's church status allows it to operate behind an opaque curtain. Donors have absolutely no mandated access to information revealing how much Lamb earns, how much she spends on travel or residences, how ministry funds are allocated between programming, outreach, and administrative overhead, including executive perks, or how much profit her commercial real estate ventures generate personally. This enforced secrecy creates fertile ground for potential misuse. Tax law experts warn that if personal expenses like the honeymoon were indeed charged to the ministry and not properly reimbursed, it could constitute excess benefit or private inurement, serious violations of nonprofit regulations that could jeopardize Daystar's tax-exempt status and trigger significant penalties. Yet, despite these risks and the swirling controversies, Lamb's personal asset base continues to expand, with properties accumulating while public records suggest the majority of her donors struggle financially, many living paycheck to paycheck. The implosion of Daystar television network offers a grim, textbook case study in how spiritual mission can be subverted by unchecked ambition, greed, and institutional self-preservation. The $100,000 honeymoon charged to the accounts of trusting donors stands as a grotesque symbol of entitlement. The alleged cover-up of abuse within the founding family reveals a chilling willingness to sacrifice the vulnerable on the altar of public image. The deafening silence of 16 departed programming giants screams condemnation louder than any sermon. Each layer of scandal peels back to expose the same corrosive core, an organization that lost its spiritual compass, trading its covenant with the faithful for executive privilege, luxury assets, and a culture of secrecy and suppression. The trajectory of this downfall follows a sadly predictable pattern. First, leaders blur the sacred line between divine calling and personal enrichment, justifying extravagance as necessary for the ministry's reach or their own anointing. Next, they weaponize scripture and spiritual language to deflect criticism and sanctify their choices, framing dissent as faithlessness or demonic attack. Finally, they isolate and attack truth-tellers, circling the wagons while allies, recognizing the irreversible moral decay, quietly or publicly disengage. From the wreckage, three critical, non-negotiable truths emerge that resonate far beyond Daystar. Radical financial transparency is not optional for faith-based organizations. It is an absolute imperative. Donors entrusting their hard-earned money to a spiritual mission have an inherent right to know, with line-item clarity, How every dollar is allocated. Ministries must proactively disclose executive compensation, major expenditures, property holdings, and demonstrate rigorous, independent financial oversight, regardless of their tax-exempt status. The prosperity gospel, in its most exploitative forms, functions as predatory theology. Its give-to-get promises, often targeted at the financially desperate, weaponize hope to extract wealth, creating a spiritualized Ponzi scheme where leaders reap obscene rewards while donors see little beyond empty assurances and deepening hardship. Lavish leader lifestyles inherently undermine the credibility of ministries preaching sacrifice and service. They create an unconscionable disconnect that inevitably erodes trust. Institutional collapse is the inevitable consequence of sustained moral decay. The mass exodus of Daystar's top programmers wasn't a coincidence. It was the direct result of ethical rot reaching a tipping point. Figures like Joyce Meyer, whose own ministries are built on trust and accountability, understand that association with scandal and suppression is untenable. Their departure is a powerful act of moral witness, signaling that the institution has crossed a line from which recovery is impossible. Daystar's ultimate tragedy lies not in its potential financial ruin, but in the profound violation of sacred trust. Millions of individuals, often society's most vulnerable, entrusted Joni Lamb and her network not just with their money, but with their deepest hopes, prayers, and faith. They believed their sacrifices were advancing God's kingdom, bringing light to darkness, hope to the hopeless. The revelation that their offerings may have instead funded luxury vacations, sprawling estates, private jets, and the suppression of painful truths is a spiritual trauma of immense proportions. Marcus Lamb's frequent on-air refrain, "You reap what you sow," now echoes with devastating irony. The harvest from seeds sown in secrecy, entitlement, and alleged exploitation is now being reaped. Ruined reputations, fractured families, deserted studios, and a landscape of broken trust where faithful viewers grapple with disillusionment. The cameras may still broadcast, the telethons may still plead for funds, but the soul of Daystar television network has been extinguished. The final, lingering question isn't whether Daystar can survive the legal battles or rebuild its programming slate. It's whether this very public implosion will serve as a searing lesson for other faith-based institutions teetering on the edge of similar compromise, urging them back towards transparency, humility, and genuine service before the same darkness consumes them too. We know this story sparks strong reactions. Have you or someone you know been affected by similar issues within faith organizations? Share your experiences and perspectives in the comments below. Your voice adds crucial depth to this conversation. If you believe in holding leaders accountable and demanding transparency, please hit the like button. It helps amplify this vital reporting. And subscribe to stay fully informed as we continue to follow the legal, financial, and human fallout from the Daystar saga. The pursuit of truth continues.